Okay, Mercedes C240, but this is going to apply to any of the Mercedes M112 and M113 V6 and V8 engines. This is merely the valve cover breather. This is the oil breather, kind of like the positive crankcase ventilation. This is where the crankcase vapors go back in to be reburned inside the intake manifold. And this is where the vapors come out, and this is just sealed with sealant, and you do get leaks from time to time. Mine is dripping, as you can see here. It drips, and once in a while goes down the exhaust manifold, and I smell this nice. It's probably about every, if I'm driving for a couple of hours, it's like every once an hour I'll smell a little bit of burning oil, which is because the air intake is right here, so it comes in and you can smell it. And there's a cover on each side, and they're both basically the same, except this one's smaller and this one's a little bigger and has the oil filler cap on it. So you're going to want to clean these, pull the engine cover off. I'm doing the spark plugs at the same time, so I've removed the coils and the plug wires. And you probably want to do this while the engine is a little bit warm, because this is sealant, and the sealant will be more pliable when it's warm. And it's not going to come off in chunks, like shatter and come off in chunks and fall down inside the engine, because when you pull this off, you don't want it to fall down inside the valve cover and get inside the engine. So you want this really clean before you start and do anything. Obviously, because you've got the engine cover off, you're going to want to cover up the mass airflow sensor and the intake here. And so we're going to clean all this up. Oh, and before you start this, let me grab the two. Going to be using to reseal that. There's no gasket. It is a liquid gasket. It's Mercedes. This is the Mercedes sealant that you use. It's basically an RTV, but this one dries and sets up in less than an hour. Most RTVs, you have to leave them for 24 hours before they set up and dry. This one dries in an hour. The working time's about 10 minutes after you put it on. It's about $30 from the dealership. And these two little screws, there's one here and one here. They're aluminum and they need to be replaced. You can't reuse them. What I got, you can get them from the dealership. The dealership sells new ones. You can also just go to Lowe's and get machine screws. These are Allen-headed screws. They're the size is M5 by 0.8. They're metric, M5 by 0.8 and 20 millimeters long. And that's basically the same size the dealership's going to sell you, except they're going to be a Torx head in there. And that's what we're going to reuse when we put these in. You do not reuse the old bolts. These are valve cover bolts. These reverse Torx, the E-Torx bolts there, those go, you reuse those. And you're not going to torque these on very hard. They're very, very, very low torque spec, something like 2 pound-feet. I'll look up my manual before I do it, and obviously, and let you know along the way. But I'm going to clean all this off and be back in a few minutes. Okay, so I've blown everything off with compressed air, and hopefully got any dirt out of there. And these valve cover bolts are an E10 reverse torque. It's a long bolt. If you see any like little chunks of sealant coming out, make sure that doesn't fall back in. I think the small ones are a T20, if I'm not mistaken. T20. Oh, before I do that, I'm going to pull off this rubber breather hose. Tuck that out of the way. I don't want to be yanking on that. the original factory bolts are aluminum, so be very careful with them. If they snap, you don't want to have to, I mean, it's not at the end of the world. You can tap them out of the head, but, or the valve cover, but why do you want to? You don't. I've also got my shop vac ready, which I'm going to plug in, and you're going to hear as I lift this off. So you're not going to be able to hear anything except for a shop vac, because as I pull this off, I'm going to put the vacuum on there just in case any pieces fall. I don't want them falling down inside the rocker cover. So first, if there's any loose chunks around the outside, yank those off so those don't fall. It's going to be sealed on there pretty good. I'm trying to find a spot where I can gently pry on it. Okay, 1 second. This is aluminum and you don't want to pry hard on it. But it is. Oh, it's in there pretty good. It is sealed on. I'm trying to find a lip somewhere where I can grab onto, or sealant coming off on the back. Okay, let me see if I can locate a suitable lip to pry on, and I will be back in a second. Okay, actually just light wiggling and wiggling got it moving, so I'm going to turn on the vacuum now. And there you can see inside. Oh, it's really filthy. So I'm going to be cleaning all of this off and not using anything metal, using like a wood barbecue skewer and stuff and some brake cleaner, and it's going to take a while. You know, some used too much. Whoever did this used too much. That's why this is all bowed out there. That's too much. So anyway, I'm going to clean this all off and carefully clean this off in here. Again, you don't want anything to drop down there, so I'm going to tuck some rags down in here where the gallery goes back down into the valve cover, like in here and in here. I'm going to tuck rags down in there and in here. And anyway, clean all this off and we'll be back in a few minutes once it's all clean. Okay, this is about 45 minutes of cleaning. The rusty film that you see is just, I guess just leftover water traces. I finished off cleaning with brake cleaner because it evaporates and leaves no trace behind. I think I've got to get a little bit more right in there in that screw hole. And on top of the valve cover is all cleaned and vacuumed as I was cleaning it. And I also made sure to unplug, I don't know if you can see light through it. Yeah, a little bit. Unplug the little PVC PCV port there. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to apply the sealant in a 2mm bead and show you that when I'm done. And no sense showing you applying sealant, but I'll apply the sealant and then show you putting it back on. Back in a minute. Okay, I don't have a lot of time to just put the sealant on. It starts to set up within 10 minutes. So make sure to put the bead on the cover itself, not on the rocker cover. You only got one chance to put this on, so make sure you put it on straight. And then gently settle it in. And I'm going to take the new bolts and tighten those down to 24 inch-pounds, which is about 2 foot-pounds of torque. And I have got to find my torques inch-pounds. Sorry, I'm just going to leave this camera running. I don't have time to turn it off because I want to do this before it starts to dry too much. Inch-pounds, 50, 25. I may have been given some bad advice by the dealer. He said that 20 millimeter, because he didn't have any in stock, and he said these were 20 millimeters, so that's what I went out and got. He said the new ones were 20s, and 20 seems to be bottoming out and not going in all the way. So I may have to do the unthinkable and reuse these old bolts, which you're not supposed to do. I do not want to retighten old aluminum bolts, but I'm not going to force these into the head because they're not, no, these aren't going in. These are too long. He said the new ones are 20 millimeters long, but he didn't have any. So there's difference between old and new. And the ones that I was putting in are 20 millimeters. So, in order to facilitate doing this right now, I'm putting this bolt back in, and I'm not happy about doing it. Son of a... Well... Do not reuse your old bolts. At least this will fit in there and pull the old one. The new one out. Maybe he meant on the M113 head, maybe the 20 millimeter does fit. Get away, Bumblebee. But on the M12, it definitely does not fit. We're doing these up to 24 inch-pounds, which is not that much. Exactly that much. And crap, I didn't even have time to clean off those threads because I was not expecting to use that. If I was going to reuse those bolts, I would have cleaned off those threads before I put them in. So I'm not happy about that. So you know what, just get the new bolts from your dealership. Mine didn't have them in stock. I would have just got them from him, but like I said, he said they were an M8. Anyway, whatever. Here's the valve cover bolts, these two. I'm going to clean these off on my wire wheel before I put these back in. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, now I'm just going to put the valve cover bolts in, and these should be about 6 foot-pounds. Or about 70 inch-pounds, 72 inch-pounds, approximately. That seems too high. I don't like that. Check all the other valve cover bolts. Well, 6 foot-pounds seems about right. Actually, I can't find a measurement for it. But 6 foot-pounds seems about right. I'm just going to hook up the hose, and the other side is basically the same. Only difference is going to be that you've got the oil breather or the oil fill cap on here, and it's a bit longer, and there's 2 breather hoses on here. Yeah, the reason those probably leak is because of the PVC there. PCV, why do I always say PVC? The PCV was a little bit plugged up. You could barely see any light through it. Again, this car is like 14 years old and barely driven. So a lot of short trips, I guess, this guy took. That's why there was a lot of sludge in there. Anyway, thanks for watching.